What's up guys, today on Donnie Graham Builds we're going to be tackling this new rustic farmhouse style teacher's podium for my wife, who's a teacher. Let's check it out.
First things first, we want to remove the staples that come attached to dimensional lumber using a flathead screwdriver.
Take our 4x4s, we'll bring them over to the miter saw station. We've got the block set at 40 inches long, and we'll start slicing up our legs.
This stop block setup is going to give us the exact same length for all 4 of our legs, effectively eliminating any unevenness and giving us a level foundation for our build. These are the kind of details you want to pay close attention to at the beginning to save yourself a headache down the road, because leveling issues often compound as the project moves forward. So right here I'm setting the length for our stop block. I know what it looks like. I'm measuring on top of a measuring tape. Don't worry, that's going to be an issue we're going to fix in a later video.
I wish I had a girl who was good. I would call I wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat and a 6'4" Impala. Alright, so the next thing we want to do, since everything is cut down, when you buy dimensional lumber from the big box stores, it'll come rounded over. And we will round it over eventually, but we want to make sure that we can clean up these sides. And 4x4s are a pretty beefy piece of wood, so I think we're going to rip this down and take it to 3x3, and then that'll give us our leg width. And we'll go ahead and rip down our 2x4s as well as our 2x3s so we can get that factory edge off and get these looking like clean pieces of lumber that we can build a good podium out of. Ooh, smell that pine. Okay, so we've ripped down 2 sides. Which means that the piece is officially 3x3, but we still have our factory edge on one corner on each piece. We want to get rid of that round over. So what we're going to do is pull out the jointer, and we'll run this board all the way through and take it down just a hair, and that should get rid of that rounded over edge. Alright, so our legs are turning out great. They're sitting over here to the side. The next thing we're going to do, we need a way to connect the front and back legs to each other and the left side and the right side of the stand together. So we're going to use 2x4s, and again we're going to mill them down so they look cleaned up the same way we did the legs, so we don't have any of this factory labeling on it and nothing like that. So we're going to cut 4 pieces to 17 inches, and that'll be our total width, our total width. And then we'll cut 4 pieces to 24 inches, and that'll be our total length. So we'll get cutting those now.
So another setback of that miter saw station is that I can't really work with 8-foot boards. So in the interim, until I can get that fixed, what I like to do is use my speed square along with my circle saw. That gives you a nice clean right angle to reference off of. Break those down to a more manageable size until I can get them over to the miter saw and get them down to the exact length that I need. And because we ripped down our 4x4s to 3x3s, we also want to make sure that our 2x4s are ripped down to 2x3s, so everything lines up nice and flush like you see here.
So perfectly aligned. Oh yeah. That's what you want to see. Alright, so we got our 2x4s cut to the right width. They're the same as the 4x4 now, so those are good to move forward. The next step here is going to be working on the joinery and how we pull everything together. We're going to use what are called pocket hole screws from Craig. They're not a sponsor of me, but they do make a great product and I enjoy using them, along with a combination of Titebond wood glue. So basically what happens is we'll take our Craig jig here, we'll lock it onto our piece. We'll take the drill bit that comes with the kit. What this will do is bore out a larger section, and then this top part of the bit will bore out a smaller section that the screw will actually go through. So we'll do that now. just to give you an idea. You want to make sure that bottoms out all the way. Alright, so now we have what are known as pocket holes. These are 2 holes going toward the end of the wood. And you can't see them, but they're going to come out on this side. So basically what will happen is we'll take our screw, put it inside the pocket hole, drill it down, and as this flat part of the screw begins to catch on the hole, it'll pull that joint nice and tight and secure. So we'll have a good strong joint to hold our podium up. Alright, so we got all our pocket holes drilled. These are all ready to go. You can see holes on each end to connect to the 4x4, so those are good. The next step we're going to do is go ahead and hit everything with 120 grit sandpaper. We're not going to touch the corners because remember we took off those rounded corners. What I'm going to do is take our router, this is a Ryobi Palm router, and it's got a chamfer bit in it. And basically what's going to happen is this ball bearing is going to run along the side of the wood, and if you can see it's kind of cone shaped, it's called a chamfer. It's going to make a chamfer profile or an angled profile all the way across the board, which I think is going to give us a nice clean finish.
So right now I'm working on getting the base assembled. This will give me an idea of what the Podium desktop needs to be. It'll also help me to cut and install the X patterns that are getting to be so popular with that rustic theme everyone's been seeing. So in order to find the angle of the desktop, I used an angle finder. However, I ended up cutting this off camera, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It worked out. Now, I've cut several of these X patterns before in previous projects. What I find works best is when you cut one, hold it up, mark your lines, and then cut the next to fit. One of the requests I got from my wife while making this podium was to include a hidden shelf on the inside for books or for candy, for games, anything like that. Obviously, in order for this shelf to be hidden, we needed to have walls. I made these walls on the bandsaw and then cleaned them up on the disc sander and attached them using pocket hole screws. The next step was to attach the podium desktop. I did this using 3.5-inch wood screws with a bit of wood filler to cover up the heads. These will be sanded and stained later. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are those huge gaps doing there? Well, nothing makes a piece look more professional than adding custom trim. So back to the bandsaw I went. Once I got these roughed out, I used the flush trim bit on the router to make them identical. I attached these using glue and brad nails. Now, what's a good podium without some heavy duty casters? I put these in place and then marked where I would need to pre-drill holes in order to prevent the wood from splitting when I drove in the screws. Went ahead and added a pencil groove at the front of the desk and pre-drilled a hole for a bucket of pens or pencils or a drink. Routed around the edges and then gave it a quick sanding to make sure that it was soft to the touch. Everything got a nice good sanding down. This is everyone's favorite part of any video. Sanding and, well, more sanding. Then finally the moment we're all waiting for, the stain and finish. This really brings the wood grain to life.
Alright guys, that's going to do it for this build. I am super excited with how this one turned out. It's got a lot of functionality with those heavy duty locking casters, as well as the flat top surface for a coffee mug or sticky notes, and the angled surface for planner or laptop. It's going to be great. I think my wife's really going to enjoy it. If you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and throw this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. That way, as I go forward and produce more content, I'll get a better idea of what you guys are enjoying. Thanks again.